is that our country is being led by idiots. And that is not something that we should be comfortable with as Americans, and that's not something that should make us proud. And so in this moment, I feel great sadness as an American that these are the kind of people that the world gets to see representing us. So,
Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a jihadi, just lucky that there aren't black scorpions crawling over her sun-bleached bones in the wind-swept desert sands of Somalia. She should probably be deported, don't you think? I think deported. Catapulted into the Atlantic Ocean. Ilhan Omar, she's not a fan of our country or our people. She's a jihadi. And a very good Tuesday to you. Welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625. Great many moving parts taking place with all kinds of madness going on in the United States of America, not the least of which going on in New York City right now. New York City, President Trump is at the United Nations this morning, where he will be delivering a speech in a matter of minutes. And we've got our ear to the ground on that. Melania Trump there at the United Nations with him, looking wonderful, still never appearing on a cover of a magazine since becoming First Lady. Because the left, they're all trannies, and it's kind of a strange thing. But here's a headline today because there are a couple of different takes on this, and it is sort of a big deal, I think, what's going on in New York. The New York Times, a fake newspaper, a Democrat Party front group, based in New York City, which has been turned over to brigands from medieval hell. The headline is, Cache of Devices Capable of Crashing Cell Network is Found Near UN, near the United Nations. The United Nations is right there. And what is this, a cache of devices capable of crashing? It's kind of a funny phrasing, isn't it, at the New York Times headline? Cache of, some people say cache, but the word is cache. Cache of devices capable of crashing cell network is found near United Nations. Coincidentally, the day that President Trump is going in to address the so-called United Nations, the ironically and absurdly named United Nations. They are not on the side of civilization. But the people at the New York Times, they've got the scoop because, the Secret Service discovered more than 100,000 SIM cards, that you find inside your cell phone, and 300 servers. They found a lot of SIM cards and a lot of servers. The Secret Service, not the FBI, but the Presidential Protection Secret Service, they investigate other things as well. But this is pretty crazy. Secret Service found more than 100,000 SIM cards and 300 servers, which could disable cellular towers or be used to conduct surveillance. Wait a minute, conduct surveillance? And here comes the President of the United States to New York at the United Nations. Now, who has this kind of capability with 300 servers and 100,000 SIM cards? Perhaps the Communist Chinese might be a candidate here. The frauds at CNN, Democrat Party front group as well. Their headline, The Secret Service Traced Swatting Threats Against Officials. They're all Trump officials, but they leave that out. And the CNN story. They found 300 servers capable of crippling New York City's cell system. Now, why would you want to do that? That'd be like a blackout. No texting, no sending stuff by way of your, and I don't know if it affects, you got a Wi-Fi in your home and your office. That should work, I guess. But out around the city and, emergency, the police and 911 and fire department, they all need these cellular connections, but never mind that. CNN takes a little time travel approach to their writing of it. On Christmas Day of 2023, a man called the Suicide Prevention Hotline, claiming he had shot his girlfriend and threatening to kill himself. Police barreled toward the address, but turned around before they arrived. It was a hoax, a swatting call at Marjorie Taylor Greene's residence. Now, CNN doesn't mention that she's the Republican congresswoman who's been the target of Democrat Party ire. 5 days later, GOP Senator Rick Scott's home in Florida was swatted. That is, the Democrats calling the police saying there's a shootout going on there, and you should send the SWAT team in to kill the owner of the house. This is the goal for the Democrats doing this. Within a month of Donald Trump clinching his second presidential election win, several of his cabinet picks and administration members were targeted in violent threats, including swatting incidents and bomb threats, his transition team said. The wave of false descriptions of shootings and violence continued to assail high-level government officials, now only in the Trump administration. Now, the federal judge overseeing Trump's election subversion case, Maine's Democratic Secretary of State, Democrats doing all of it, then presidential candidate Nikki Haley, the threats weren't legitimate. There were no shootings, no violence. But the Democrats, they're just, hoping and trying to incite and create. So a unit of the Secret Service in its infancy set out 6 months ago to unmask the layers of burner phones, charging phone numbers, changing phone numbers, and SIM cards that were swatting American officials. Isn't that fascinating? Yet there was a real, legitimate, and imminent threat. The surge of swatting calls against high-ranking officials posed to the Secret Service's protective operations, said Matt McCool. I love the guy's name is Matt McCool. MC, and then big C again, COOL. Now, that's you got to say that's a cool name, Irish cool. Matt McCool, special agent in charge of Secret Service in the New York field office. The Advanced Threat Interdiction Unit, along with a flurry of other law enforcement agencies, the Department of Homeland Security, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and the New York Police Department, other state and local law enforcement agencies, began unraveling the web. It ended with the largest seizure of SIM servers and cards in the Secret Service's history, largest they've ever seen. The new unit traced the swatting signals to an apartment just outside New York City. That's a shock, isn't it? And they found another rented space, then more. Inside, they found no one. Now, CNN was talking about this today, and who do we have? John Berman. John Berman. He pretends to be an anchorman, pretends to be a newsman at CNN, and he decided, because it was in the New York Times, and they just find what's in the New York Times, and then they talk about it because that's what they do. They're fake CNN.
All right, we do have breaking news this morning. CNN just learned the Secret Service disrupted a plot that could have overwhelmed the cellular communication system for New York City right in the middle of the UN General Assembly. This was a big plot at a crucial time. It all started as an investigation into fake calls, so-called swatting of Trump administration officials, and, or people with affiliated with the Trump administration. There you can see several former and current lawmakers. It ended up way, way bigger than that.
Way, way bigger. And then they invited on their guy, John Miller, who is a former law enforcement, and he's on again, off again. He's been right sometimes, and he's been wrong sometimes, which is perfect for CNN.
This is quite an amazing story, and nothing like we've seen before. But the Secret Service, investigating these swatting calls, traced these phone signals down to a number of locations in basically a circle, a 35-mile donut around New York City. And when they hit these apartments, they found 300 servers connected to 100,000 SIM cards. This machinery was able to, on command, put out 300 million phone calls within 12 minutes.
300 million phone calls within 12 minutes. That's more than AOC gets. I think that's amazing. So the story is quite a wild story, and all these federal law enforcement agencies and the NYPD, and they said that what they found was a vast and stunning network, more than 300 SIM servers capable of disabling cell phone towers and disrupting emergency services, all concentrated within 35 miles of New York City. Over the past few weeks, the Secret Service discovered more than 100,000 SIM cards across locations and the New York tri-state area, New Jersey, Connecticut, and maybe Pennsylvania. That'd be the Quad State area. Officials briefed on the investigation say that the electronic safe houses were found in places like Armonk, New York, Greenwich, Connecticut, even in Queens, New York. Why even in Queens, New York? Of course, in Queens, New York. And across the river in New Jersey, essentially creating a circle around New York City, the cellular network infrastructure. Now, why would the Chinese communists want to do that? And John Miller on CNN this morning.
As they started to examine some of those SIM cards, they've got a lot to go through with 100,000 they've been communicating with. They found foreign agents from hostile foreign powers, including China, talking to criminal organizations, including Mexican drug cartels, along with swatters, along with terrorist organizations. So whoever built this network of hubs was either a hostile foreign power or some criminal genius who decided to give them a massive switchboard with incredible power.
Criminal genius could be a criminal genius like Lex Luthor. Maybe it's Lex Luthor. Are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? And this is a wild story. And with for this to surface, to emerge today in the New York Times of all places, and the Secret Service being the lead dog, according to all the reporting, and the President of the United States is in New York City and at the United Nations and the meeting of the General Assembly at the United Nations. Is this laying the groundwork for some kind of Hollywood movie, an attack on the United Nations, on the President of the United States, and shutting down communications? I recall being here in Washington on September 11th of 2001 during the radical Islamic jihadi terror attacks and the hijacked planes and the airplane crashing into the Pentagon, where I was pulling into the parking lot when the plane hit at the Pentagon. And your cell phone network was completely overloaded right away, and you couldn't communicate, and the city was really in a crunch. And now we've got what looks like the communist Chinese, but in concert with Mexican drug cartels, who they funnel the elements of fentanyl to that then flow into our country, and we have, on an average year, 80,000 to 100,000 Americans killed in fatal drug overdoses. And the Chinese like that, the drug cartels like that, and the Democrat Party opens up the borders, and then Joe Biden brings his boy Hunter to China to cut business deals with them. The Democrats are not on our side. They're really not. These are amazing times we're in. So the hidden electronic maze was so powerful, it could have sent encrypted and anonymous texts to every human being in the United States within 12 minutes. McCool, the Secret Service guy, McCool, said that its strength could have overwhelmed cell towers, toppled New York City's cell service, and stopped every Manhattan resident from being able to access Google Maps. Got to find your Google Maps. I like Google Earth. I don't do a lot of Google Maps, but Google Earth, I think, is a great toy. So there it is. This includes, and again, McCool at the Secret Service talking about the network. That includes cartels. That includes human traffickers. That includes terrorists. And don't forget about the Chinese communists. So this is kind of a big deal. And this is why, you should be on the side of law enforcement, unlike Democrats. What is going on here? You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier has finally arrived, and the third generation builds on the incredible success of the previous two generations, and they had already earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet bestseller in no time at all. This new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have demonstrated help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air that you breathe at home, at the office. It also removes dust and smoke and all kinds of nastiness, and it gets rid of any odor. Lickety-split. And you don't have to buy filters to replace again and again either, which is real nice. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell guaranteed. I'm talking trash cans, kitty litter boxes, cigarette smoke, liberal protesters, musty basements. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And the smells disappear in a matter of seconds. Right now, you can save $200 American dollars when you get the Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You can give one as a gift, too. But you can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your kitchen, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. Yeah, this is a wild story. What is going on? It does sound like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's nothing theoretical about what we're discussing here. President Trump started speaking at the United Nations only to learn that his teleprompter was not working. Might be connected to the cellular telephone network. Let us go to the telephones, Michael. We are at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Paul calling from Woodbridge, Virginia. Paulo, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. Great job, as always. Just a couple quick comments, possible questions. When I listened to the director of the FCC talking about, the Kimmel situation with ABC, and we're starting to hear language like, these broadcast licenses are granted in the public good or for the public good. And when we see a scenario like Kimmel, where cutting all the frou-frou language out from ABC, Kimmel just openly and blatantly lied when he said that the shooter in Charlie Kirk's situation was a MAGA person, Make America Great Again person. And while we've got major law enforcement entities in the United States telling us that's not what it was, he was a radical leftist, and so on and so forth. So Kimmel just blatantly lied. So that, to me, is not in the public good. And somewhere there is a broadcast agreement between the government and these networks, and I'm sure in there there's a definition of what the public good means. So I wonder why we don't have more aggressive reaction from the FCC in pushing for the revoking of some of these licenses, which I know is a very dangerous thing, but I think we can set the bar high and define it and then go prosecute these guys. And I think you could expand it a little further by saying, when all of the networks go after an existing presidential candidate or sitting president at 92 to 97% negative coverage over a period of 4 years, I'll bet there's hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of, again, lies.
Oh, yeah. Now, as I mentioned, President Trump at the United Nations today, speechifying to the General Assembly, where the incompetent and corrupt gather to try to outdo one another. And President Trump, no fan of the United Nations because he's not completely irrational like every Democrat in the country. But the president got to the podium, the big green wall, the famous green wall. I've always wanted to give a speech from there, I'll admit. I think that'd be fun. But President Trump got to the big green wall and the podium, and he started giving his speech, and you'll never guess the teleprompter didn't work because it's the United Nations, and nothing works at the United Nations. No one works at the United Nations.
Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working.
The president.
I feel very happy to be up here with you, nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Now, it is the White House brings their own teleprompter equipment and their own teleprompter operator, but then you got to plug it in at the United Nations, and that's the last mile, is the United Nations has to provide electricity and or cables or something, and then idiots go trip over them or unplug them on purpose, like in the movie Airplane. And it's a joke because the United Nations is a joke, and that's how the president started. And of course, we know that he can stand there and riff for hours on end and talk about whatever he wants to talk about. But they did write a speech, and it's the United Nations. It's the annual meeting of the General Assembly, and it's kind of a big deal in New York City. The whole city shuts down, and then when the Chinese communists with their allies and the Mexican drug cartels, they booby-trap the entire cellular telephone network in New York City with all these 100,000 SIM cards. Michael Piercy and I were talking about this. How do you distribute 100,000 SIM cards in New York City and more than 100 servers in 35 locations and circling New York City, and then you flip a switch and anarchy ensues? That'd make me nervous if I were on the head of the president's security detail today. There's no doubt about that, because New York's already enough of a freak show. Honestly, it's a complete freak show. And I got to say, I wish that I had more time with Paul, our last caller here, who was talking smart stuff about the FCC and the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, and the Jimmy Kimmel license. And it's true, I guess, Michael, we played the Hillary Clinton soundbite earlier today. I know I'm whipsawing you around all over the place here today, but Hillary Clinton, I was reminded of Hillary Clinton with Jimmy Kimmel. And now Jimmy Kimmel's supposed to be returning to television tonight, but not on Sinclair stations for sure, which means not in Washington, D.C. and a lot of other cities across America, so their ratings won't be so great because a lot of stations aren't carrying. But Hillary Clinton, you may remember, she was very, very angry about everything because she's moody. You're moody. And Hillary Clinton used to rail on about people spreading disinformation and misinformation and propaganda.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
Yeah, it should be people spreading propaganda should be civilly or even criminally charged for spreading propaganda. And what was the propaganda that Jimmy Kimmel peddled? Because this is 100% pure, unfiltered Nazi Germany, Soviet Russian, Maoist China propaganda being peddled by this $16 million a year Democrat Party pimp.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. Yeah.
Now, Kimmel, that was none of that was true. And we knew by that time that the guy was a lefty like every other assassin in the history of the world. And just amazing stuff. He's spreading and distributing propaganda. So based on Hillary Clinton's comments here, he might face, maybe should face, either civil or criminal penalties, criminal charges for distributing propaganda. And it's the kind of Civil War propaganda that the Democrat Party is so fond of. And what did he say? He said, honestly, what he said was pure unfiltered BS and propaganda, and everybody knew at the time that he wasn't a MAGA supporter. But now the news media is out there lying to us all over the place, and Democrats in politics and beyond, they're lying that Kimmel didn't say that. He didn't say it was a MAGA person that shot Charlie Kirk and assassinated Charlie Kirk. He didn't say that. This is what the left is saying now.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
New lows, anything other than one of them. Huh. Isn't that interesting? So that is pure propaganda than one of them, because that's the MAGA. They're trying to prove the just amazing stuff. Now, that's ABC Network spreading propaganda, and now they're rewarding Jimmy Kimmel today. He'll get higher ratings than he's gotten in years because he's gotten a lot of attention. And it's not unwanted attention on the left, because the left loves the disinformation. They love their consumers. They love the disinformation. They love the misinformation. And the news media is out there again and again all over the place saying, oh, no, he didn't say that it was a MAGA person that shot Charlie Kirk. No, that you heard it wrong. And this is what they're telling us now, because they're like communist propagandists, and they don't care. Here's who are you going to believe, me or your lying ears and eyes and the videotape, and here it is right now. And how dare he be suspended? It's the end of our democracy. It's the end of free speech in America and the First Amendment. And these are the people that had President Trump banned from social media and tried to put him in prison like the Soviet communists that they are. Amazing stuff. Womp, womp, womp. I'm telling you. And Nexstar and I got to tell you, there is no punishment. There are no consequences. It's the consequence-free Democrat Party world. We're just living in it. And it's not cancel culture. It's consequence culture. It's accountability culture. But they don't see it that way. Yeah, that mega gang, that mega gang is desperately trying to characterize this kid. He's a kid. What is he, 23 years old? He's 22, I think 22 years old. Trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. That's what he said. They're trying to characterize, so clearly it's one of them, one of the MAGA gang, and now the people on media and Democrats are all lying about it, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. You guys should stop shooting and killing people. How about that? Just a thought. Democrat Party, left, carrying on the traditions of the left. They are something. Yes, they are. So there we have it. Yes, sir. And President Trump in New York, he then giving the speech, and he's addressing the Chinese there directly. He's addressing the Russians there directly. He's and the teleprompter eventually started working again. But he decided he'd point out that when they got there, he's there with Melania looking wonderful as always. They started taking an escalator in the United Nations building up, and they're halfway up in the escalator. It came to a screeching halt. Suddenly it jerked to a stop, which, women of a certain age, men of a certain age might not be fond of the escalator stopping midway. You might go tumbling down an escalator. That could be bad. And then, of course, the teleprompter. And President Trump decided that since they're all sitting there, he might as well tell them what's what.
Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable.
Listen to this.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
And no help in stopping war. The United Nations should be closed. The building should be converted to condos and maybe a casino on the first floor, because they get some Native American tribe. They can put casinos anywhere now. And then, the mafia is the state now. The mafia is the Corleone family is the government now. They control the gambling, and they call prostitutes sex workers. Sex workers, that's what they call. And, of course, they legalize pot because they get to wet their beak. They get to get a piece of the money from that. And their boy Mamdani, he wants to legalize heroin and opioids in Manhattan, too, so they can sell them and take a piece of that, just like organized crime. The Democrat Party is the Corleone family of the 21st century. Aren't they amazing? So President Trump at the United Nations and giving them a little bit of what for. I'm stopping wars. I never even heard from you guys. I'm cutting deals. I never hear from you guys. I'm stopping them in real time and providing sustenance to do that. Never hear from the United Nations. I come to the United Nations to speak, and you try to kill me with the escalator jerking to a halt. And then I show up at the big green wall at the podium, and the teleprompter doesn't work. You guys are doing great. They should move to a small building in Geneva, in Switzerland, and look at a fountain in the lake out the window, and they can have their funny little meetings once a year and let the Swiss deal with it. But New York shouldn't have to deal with this stuff. The New York Times is a sad and tragic joke. Yes, it is. All right, let's see. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Donna calling from Frederick, Maryland. Oh, Donna, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, my friend Chris. Thanks for taking my call. My best guy and I had a discussion this morning about a report that came last week which referenced the radical purchasing of EMR equipment, uniforms, this kind of thing. So we kind of connected the dots when you disclosed to us what's going on. And by the way, that story was related to Hamas. We've been trying to dig it up because it's been a week already. But I think it's connected to everything that we're concerned about. The left loves chaos. I have heard that we're likely going to see like some kind of cyber threat of some kind. If not, we're already seeing them in Europe, so it's just a matter of time here. And so it's not hard to put on your intellectual hat and evaluate this for what it actually is. The left loves chaos. It's all they have left. They have nothing, zero, nada. And I hope more people have awakened since, sadly, the passing of Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, and God bless his family and our country for going through this hell that the left and the global entities have put us through. And I just wanted to share that thought with you. I think we have to be very mindful of sleeper cells and keep our heads on a swivel.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and EMR, emergency medical responder equipment. So people that look like first responders, right?
Correct.
That's what you're talking about. Not everybody necessarily speaks, all of the various codes that we've inflicted upon our culture these days. But no, Donna, I thank you for that. And you're right. And you look at what's going on in New York and the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security and, hundreds of servers and 100,000 SIM cards. What's going on in New York? I think you sell them at the burner phone stores, and they don't even know that their SIM cards are operated remotely by the Chinese communists or somebody. But remarkable stuff, Donna. And you're right. We got to keep our head on a swivel. And and the biggest threat is the Democrat Party, the open borders, the cartels, the Chinese, the communists, the gangs. The Democrat Party is pretty much behind everything bad, and they are something. That's for sure. Donna, thank you. And security in New York, I bet they're on a tight string today, no doubt about it. Now, from handcrafted, beautiful steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. And right now, during their Red Hot Sale event, you're going to get 50% off, half off the entire website at omahasteaks.com. Plus, because we hang out together, you're going to get another $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. There's an E on the end. I don't know why. Listen, there's nothing like getting a hankering for a delicious steak dinner and then remembering you've got Omaha Steaks in the fridge. And my best girl and I, we love Omaha Steaks filet mignons. Just the other night, we had a great filet mignon dinner with hash browns and broccoli, delicious. We sear them up in my grandfather's iron skillet that's been seasoned for about 70 years now. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness, and then they're hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland in the Midwest. They carry their mouth-watering burgers as well, and chicken and pork and seafood and delicious desserts, too. And you're going to get half off. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Just visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off the entire website during the Red Hot Sale event. And you're going to get another $35 off when you're checking out with the promo code PLANT. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Another $35 on top of that off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. Just see omahasteaks.com for details. Yes, sir. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. All right, the President of the United Nations, the Democrats are mad, I tell you. And I've got more of the news of the day coming right up. All right, I've got Kamala Harris coming up. She tried to do an interview with her loving and adoring pal Rachel Maddow last night. And wait till you hear this stuff. This party. We don't have a ton of time, but let's go to Jim, calling from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I didn't mean the UN should move to that Lake Geneva, Jim, but to the one in...
we don't want them.
Yeah, I know you don't. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, hey, Chris, there's been a lot of... I'm a former Marine, Vietnam warrior, and... in my unit, there was a sniper platoon, and one of the guys actually used, instead of a Winchester or a Remington in 308, he had an old 03A3 from World War II, a sniper, fired the 30-06. We were talking, he's still alive, we were talking the other day. We went out to a rifle range with a 30-06 and fired at 4 cinder blocks from 175 yards. The round went right through, and it was a deer round with a soft point. The question is, Charlie Kirk, they say his body absorbed the round. He was so strong that his body absorbed the round and it didn't pass through him. Ballistically, Chris, that's not possible.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe.
It would have passed through him and probably gone down range another 100 yards.
So you're wondering if there's something funny about that?
Well, there's all kinds of things now showing guys with hand signals. Some of them are military hand signals.